Hello, everybody. Welcome. Nobody's here yet. Just started rolling. I am also going to sit back here because more comfortable as I do. Tip this a little bit. We moved it around a bit more on the weekend, but I'm pretty sure that from here, it's at least getting close to the middle dot audio wise. And sorry, I seem to have a lot of waters here. One of them's right out of the fridge, and it's going to be too cold for my sensitive teeth. One of them was already up here and is too warm for my sensitivity, and the other one has been sitting up for a little while. So I'm not a waterholic, although I do drink a lot of water, and yeah, it's not a bad thing. And yes, I recycle the bottles. I was so glad to see a place I went to recently um, about health and wellness. Two things I noticed on that actually. One place they had what I guess they called compostable cutlery, but it was not, as the viewer goes, it was not wooden or what's the other one? And I'm pretty sure I turned the heat off, but well. Anyway, but I have the cold water, so it's fine. Wooden or what's the other one they make it out of? Cardboard, I think, which flimsy. Anywho, this might be 2 in the series, and of course it's not scripted, but well, mostly not. And didn't I just put these on? I went down for them, and I'm already warm. So I have two new contacts that both at work. One of them was able to chat kind of in between. Well, they both were actually, and they're related to each other, ironically. Unfortunately, now they're back to their tasks. So I mean, but I'm thankful, and we'll talk to them later and that. But it just means that they're not able to watch us live. And on the weekend we did one, although the connection dropped. And I was trying to stick with routine and decided to do one spur of the moment, and it statistically was imbalanced, but it actually did amazingly well. And so, yeah, and I don't want to talk like that monotone guy that was listening to in a podcast the other night about about plants and flowers. Okay. But for like himself, no offense. But yeah, so basically, it's still quite cold actually. Isn't this the one I just took out? No. Okay. Which is kind of room temperature, but it's all good. So, I haven't done one in a few days, except for the one I did on Saturday with a guest. I'm soon going to be hers guest, but I decided to do a podcast today. It's very interesting in a way how it's unfolded. Lost a fairly good friend of mine to diabetes recently, and a couple months ago already. And I found myself wanting to get involved with the diabetes movement, for lack of a different word. And I'm talking to my worker a little bit about it, how, at first I said, okay, here's a couple things we need volunteers for. One of them, I thought one required driving. No, that was something else. It was an evening thing, and I wasn't entirely comfortable with it. Plus, I'm looking for daytime options. I'm also thinking I might have to go into this drawer. I'm going to see if it persists. I have a mild toothache. And let kids get good. I'll make the dentist for you. There's one thing I did want to quickly do, though. Maybe I will take this out just in case. Here we are. I meant to do this before I started. So, and the other thing, the person who coordinates it, hello, welcome. Sorry, just had to step away for a moment. The person who coordinates it, she might be new at it. They still have the other person's name in the directory, I found out this morning. But I started with one or two back and forth with one, and then it switched over to this person. And she, and yeah, I understand. That time, I almost understand why the person didn't stay more than 2 minutes because, this may not be interesting if you don't. Well, it's not. I don't know if it's interesting anyway, but if you don't know me but you stick around, you learn some things, and there might be some impact for you. But basically, just how it all unfolded is, I think they had one or two desk people, and they alternated a little bit, and sorry to step away again, but I think the heat is off. I sometimes feel that's interesting because she used to wear plaid a bit. I think this is why I often wear that thing I didn't bring up with me because I like that it's open at the sides because I do. I get cold, I get warm, and sometimes cold easily. And you know what? I've actually been realizing that it might be. I've been realizing I might have symptoms that mean, and I've been saying it right up until now. Well, not in this video, but in general, anemia. I think. But anywho, so basically, I think she thought that maybe they needed an additional person, and maybe they all decided they didn't. They said keep an eye out though for opportunities, so I might do that. I'm still trying to figure out when the walk may be. There might be other events. We're only going to be away for a few days, possibly, but in July, it's quite active and has been for the past 16 years, I guess. Doesn't feel like that much. In some ways, it's all a blur, but that's a topic maybe closer to that time, or during that time of that festival. Where I'll try to say some of the specifics. Although it is rather interesting that it kind of came up somewhat unplanned, and at the moment, as I'm rambling here, I've almost missed why it's come up. But I'm sure that it made sense in my head as I was saying it. And I'll never forget this friend. Well, maybe I don't want to be too specific, although I'd probably recognize him. Part of the matter is that, and I really must work on this, but I also don't think, because if I don't hear from them, there is another option. Just may not be easy to get to, and we might be away, and we might be away, but it's a possibility. I really do want to do it. I made some progress. It's not been going anywhere, this stuff, but I know it doesn't have to be an hour. I'd like it to be, but just a project I'm working on. But basically, so the one, there's a group, and there's also somebody's roof there. There's also there was some workshops, and I had thought that they were at the top of the month, like right at the top of the month, and that stuck out in my mind pretty specifically. But when I'm looking at February's too, they're the second weekend. I think this time they were I think it's still the second weekend. For some reason, no, they're not. Anyway, I called, was given a number to call, even though at the bottom of the calendar it says call this number for, I think it said to book appointments. Oh, okay, maybe it has nothing to do with those. Anyway, so I called, she gave me another number, I called, I left a message. As asked, the details that they asked for, and they said they would only call back if anything wasn't, answered. And haven't gotten email about the courses, and confirmation and a link or anything. Haven't gotten. I tried to call twice today. Left a message both times. One in intake, one in general. And I'm not very far into this one video that I watched, but I thought, well, maybe I'm meant to to just learn on my own in this. I mean, it's great when it can be a group thing, and you never know. Last night was a perfect example of I made a connection. I already had a connection that was part of a thing, meditation group type of thing. but and it was almost like a family, which I didn't realize at the time. But because not my family, but maybe it's becoming like a family, which is welcome. Um, and they seem to be kind of feeling it too. So, um, and later, I mean, and it was the smallest, in a way, a small thing, sort of, which kind of transpired it with the one because it was basically, even though the one leading it, who I already knew, said his name a couple times, and he was using mother's. There's all kinds of irony, but anyway, was using his mother's sign in or whatever, which is fine. Sometimes we do that, with our loved ones. Um, Anywho, and but he made it a point to say his name and say hi to me in the thing, and there was a little back and forth, but not much, and it was interesting because I mean I guess at this point in time it's something I feel like I maybe need a bit more, which is I guess when we're doing these, but um, in my 20s I felt very connected and quite busy some of my 30s, but in a lot of my 30s, I haven't. And I guess, like if I comment on things in groups or whatever, I guess, aside from, the person I live with and our dog, I don't feel noticed all that often. Because it's really hit and miss on here, it seems like. Uh, I don't feel like, not that I don't feel talked to, but in some ways, I don't feel like people make the time, but that's not something I've been feeling for the past couple of weeks. And it is one of those things that can vary a little bit, but the consistency is nice. And so I've had two contacts. One I just met last night, and another one, and yeah, it's been pretty consistent since then. And he even said he would check in after work. I may or may not be available at that time. See how I'm doing. And I hadn't really said that I wasn't doing great. Again, that varies, but he's just genuinely curious. This morning I was slightly distracted, but I says to myself, should I wait for him to message me? We've only just met. We've connected with each other online. Um, or should I? Blah, blah. And for whatever reason, or lack of much, I found myself messaging this guy and we struck up a friendly conversation. And yeah, so, and okay, so I want to say two things because one of the topics in this is about diabetes, and I want to say two things that I've learned, um, that I've learned just this morning. Actually, even though I didn't make it to that thing, I don't really know what's going on. I seem to remember seeing some some iffy reviews of the place. The one thing I've kind of talked myself into being understanding, but so far not very good. Not very good experience with trying to take their sorry, not like leaning on the thing, trying to take their workshops. Um, so, um, but within like 4 or 5 minutes of this video I found on the topic, I learned a couple things. One, that well, one that I'm thinking I guess I already did know that although I'm not sure if I'm going to say this right, but fats convert into sugars. Is that right? Or basically, as the viewer goes, I know I openly admit I'm in learning mode as far as this goes. I mean, some of it, but they would just say for a moment. But I believe, and the other misconception is that it's not just people who are overweight, or I don't want to be saying insensitive words, but she was very slim. Um, I have thought I might have it. I might not, in which case I couldn't utilize the food. Uh, I'm fairly slim. I got a bit of a Buddha belly, but I'd have to re-listen to that point. I'm tempted to do it in this. I think you heard that, and I know I just did, but I already don't know if I'm going to say it right. Carbohydrates break down into sugar. Okay. So, and I'm not meaning for this to be, I'm a health to be all health nut or whatever, chapstick, and healthy chapstick. Okay, just in case you're wondering, that's it. But this is really a varied channel. But health and wellness is the theme of it for sure. Anywho, um, the other thing that I learned is sometimes the pancreas does produce insulin. I went so long not knowing that that's what it did, and then I also, before then didn't even know it existed. Right, as knowledge works, I guess, or doesn't sometimes. Um, so with my friend, what it was a situation of is that because that's what became part two, type two, I believe. But the pancreas was not producing the insulin and the sugars was not, or not enough, which is why meds was needed. And I will, I remember that I found out afterwards that maybe she didn't receive her meds. I'm not saying names, but either that or decided not to take them. But and I don't know. Maybe I could have, maybe not. I don't know what she was going through in her life, right? Um, I do know that she seemed to have a loving partner and fairly good family relationships. Not huge. I'm thinking of when they let the family go first. It was maybe 10 or 15 of them. But some may not have been local and able to come to it. Some maybe just wanted to do their own thing in regards to it. Um, some maybe didn't hear or didn't go with the bunch for whatever reason. But and I yeah. Anyway, she seemed to have had a great partner, and who's the sister? I don't know. Like she was loved, and she had lots of friends, and she had a fun job that she enjoyed. Uh, but eventually, it ended because of her health, probably all the above. And I googled, can someone live a long time with it? Just a little bit before I started this, and it didn't say it was a rare case or whatever, but I can't remember the exact finding. Oh, I did it in YouTube, and it says diabetic. Although it looks like a guy, but whatever. Diabetic granny who lived to be 96. It reminds me, I know someone who's recently turned 105, or know of, newer, more in her 90s. But that was all I needed to see it is possible. And when I was thinking about rolling this, I was feeling a bit emotional because it was kind of like on one side of things, I feel like a life journey is going to be how it's going to be, and if that includes passing away young, then does um, and as hard as it may be, it's also not terrible. There's also some positives to it. Sometimes it takes time to see them, or sometimes we forget. But someone who does some of the types of work that I do, or trying to learn, and just my awareness knows that yes, it's also there's some positives to it. But yeah, I mean, she could have lived so much longer. She could have, you know, now she has experience in different ways, I believe. But you know, unfortunately, her family had to go through that. With them, whatever. Uh, her friends. Um, And I knew this fact, but thinking about it a little deeper, a 2-day long coma is still a long time in coma. For the living, it must have been excruciating. And, they can pick up on things still. I didn't know. Would I have visited? I don't know. Would I have read it? I don't know. I found out like a week, 8 days later. And I remember JP did a photo shoot with me, and I feel like she has 2 photos, which is interesting because of the event I was at on Saturday, which is not the kind of thing I've done very much. And Divine did see my messages, so she probably, who knows if they have me back. But you know what? Maybe I wouldn't want to be, because if it was organized a bit better, I might. But and there was a little bit of opportunity to network, not a lot, and it's in some ways only as good as you make it. But in the moment, it's hard. It's easier online sometimes, I find. But or I don't know. It was just there was other stuff going on. It was a very brief amount of time. Then the show of sorts started, and and I had already we what were they, late, or we had the wrong time, but we still went for a meal first. And then, the first part was actually set for networking. It just didn't really seem that most people were doing it. They were maybe talking with the people they came with, it seemed like. They didn't have any models out to talk to. Whether I would have been able to tell, because, possibly by what some of them were, but possibly not. And everybody wanted to get home and do stuff. So I stayed for a bit, had a journey, much like when I donated to the bin and the stupid driver. But how did that work? Said the bus on that side was going to be even longer a wait. And for some reason, I walked all the way down to it near the library. Before I first seen a bus, got on it. It doesn't turn. It goes over a bridge to head downtown, which is not what I wanted to do. I don't remember wasting a bus ticket. But I guess I did, because then it worked out, though. I took a pit stop at a place, the washroom, and then and I just missed the one going the other way, and I just thought it was going to be. I ended up taking a cab. But I also realized that some people who see this afterwards, I almost want to wait until there's viewers to explain this shirt a little bit. Or they might say, "What's on your shirt?" It's weird. I'm just kidding. But kind of. I realized that it's ironic. I thought that said one for a moment. They would just read my eye and fooled myself. Actually, then I thought it said 2. But anyway, but I hadn't worn that shirt for very long, but there was a light spill, so I thought I should change it. This one was floating around. I recently got it. It's special to me, nostalgic, kind of sad, but whatever, in some ways. But this is definitely just a part 1, though. I could have watched more of that video, but I felt like I needed to change tasks a little bit. Aside from the one on Saturday, it hasn't been that long, but there have been a few days where I hadn't done one when I had been doing them daily. And I have had lunch, but I do want to get downstairs soon, back to my other device, and just relax and all that. So, but I just felt called to do this video. I felt like I want to take that workshop. Who knows if I'll get the next one? I'm picky, so that's what food. But I want to take that workshop to learn, to honor her memory as well, and something to do. And in essence, that's, I guess, what I'm doing here. I'm trying to learn. I'm sharing what I've learned, And I'm trying to honor my friend. And I'm going to say thanks, buddy. And I heard that earlier, actually, when I was thinking of the idea. But that's cool. Never any pressure. There is a house in New Orleans, Colorado. Just kidding. I don't think I need to sound check. I do have my phone here. I don't think I need to. I mean, it's going to at least the third dot. This is how I always do it. Yes, we moved the. That's the only reason why I might think to. We had the laptop downstairs last night for meditation. I wonder if there's meditations for everything, right? I wonder if there's any for diabetes or the afterlife. Yeah, imperfect. That doesn't show until you click things. It'd be really ironic if her name was Pam. It's showing me Pam Kitchen Spray. I haven't heard of that stuff in ages as an advertisement. And when I've watched it back, it usually is just at the beginning. But speaking of cooking, I might touch on that too. And she worked in places that served lunch, right? Food and that. So they also talk about carpal tunnel, neuropathy. These are future topics, perhaps. But I'd like to learn, and I want to do it for that reason. And I like to educate when I can, as the viewer goes. So they're like, yeah, damn it. That's good. But they were just here for a moment. They barely gave it time. But yeah, and I'm just thinking about how it's interesting. Like, cancer's been around for ages. I've known about chemo. I thought it was the same thing as radiation. Found out it's not recently. Also found out that sometimes it kills good things that the body needs, which is why a lot of people kind of go downhill after getting it. I don't know if it was anything that really set it in, or if he realized because they aren't a lot of contact. Once you get her on the phone, she's happy to be on it, but it's apparently they say it runs in the family, making phone calls, and but afterwards it's like, all right, I really do love my sister, kind of thing. But basically, and the most recent, the previous podcast or two ago, the one with the guest, was all they can do is suggest. If relatives don't like the suggestion and choose to ignore it, then that's what it is. You know what? And I guess that's the way it's meant to be. But it's kind of like, which sometimes we have to accept it. If we can do anything about it, great. But sometimes we just have to accept that. I thought it said something about it doesn't like it checking me out. But that was interesting on barbecue last night, just a little bit before Glenn came down. That she answered the call after getting in a Zen state and doing the meditation and having to get ready for tomorrow and for a long day, and that seemed like a high energy kind of night owl, possibly type of person. So, but and so with this friend actually, whether it's cancer research or runs and walks, which you got to think with science these days. There's a lot I don't know, but sometimes it feels like, are we really making progress? Or maybe it's just one of those things in life that will never fully be able to um, conditions we will never be able to fix. Once the body gets it, you know, like one of the ladies that was here with the one I met, this lady who has it actually said it never goes away. You know, um, I do apologize again for all the stuff, but you know, sometimes there's materials or equipment that are needed for certain conditions and events that cost something to put on and in memory of and awareness, just simply awareness, because sometimes awareness can mean prevention. Now she had it for quite a long time, but it's entirely possible, even if she was doing, you know, a couple of the basics, that maybe she wasn't keeping up with it. You know, the older that she got, you know, life got busy, life got distracting. She was maybe dealing with other stuff. Maybe she had some ambivalency too. I don't know. Point of the matter is that yeah, there is a part of me that feels like, especially in the early stages, that's when you can do things that are preventable to prevent. That being said, sometimes you don't want to give up sweets, but it's not just about that, I suppose. But or I don't know. Really, truly, life is about balance and achieving that balance, and that's the hardest thing. Now, I do feel like I just really quickly want to touch on this shirt because I'm sitting here. Talking about diabetes, wearing a shirt with an ice cream cone on it. You know, um, it's dairy though. You know, and there is sugar free and blah 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 blah. The sugar free stuff is usually like great, right? However, this is of a place from where I grew up. You know, my childhood, my teens, so that's special. Um, it's also supporting mental health, including men's mental health, and another type of prevention, and that's important. And like I said, just happened to put it on. I recently got it in the mail, and these are both important causes. Um, I can't stop looking at this insert card. And how I remember, and they had these are the thing, how it seems so instructionary, or whatever the word is. Like you can either shed a tear that she's gone, or you can smile because she has lived. Well, can I do both? You know, you can close your eyes and pray that she will come back in some ways, or you can open your eyes and see all that she has left. When I read that this time, I thought of my project actually. Sure, there's memories. Sure, there's just cumulative good times that I remember. And I got out there with the music more, and even if I'm not in touch with a lot of them these days, and even if I didn't struggle with it hugely back then, so, but not weren't as stagnant back then. I don't know how to explain it, but you could see how much her friends meant to her, and how much, and part of it was her job and being welcoming, but how much a stranger meant to her. I think though the first time I met her actually came with her in-law. And she maybe didn't stay super late. So it was kind of like there was already that close connection. But yet I do feel like she was the type that would say, Hey, how's it going? Can you get up on the mic? Nice to meet you. I'm so and so. You know, she was. Um, and so she's, and I know when she first passed, it was part of my healing process. I did some of these, but so she has left flowers in my heart. She's given me this project, and I know, partly she'd say it's green, but it's not too bad. Again, the no pressure thing, but I want to do it. And I may not get back to Fringe for another month or two because they haven't really started up. Well, they've done some things, but they're still working remotely. They're not in the mode yet. And if I don't do it that way, like I say, there's this way. Create an event, see if I can formulate an audience. That will actually possibly help motivate me. Make a date, do that. But again, we might have a spur of the moment trip. But we can juggle. I've got time mostly. That's what I want to do. But if it's not now, it's not now. Keep it simple, man, kind of thing. But if it is, cool. I can do it. Wouldn't be the preference, and maybe someday down the line I'd be at Fringe. But if I can get at least a small audience together, do it there. Maybe one of the people can drive us. It would only be once, maybe twice. All I have to do is email back out to the person and say, so what is the charge? Can any of it be waived because of my low income? And, being somewhat part of that community of that place, although it's been a while. Hello. Let's go. Yeah, you on lunch? Okay, cool. Somewhat busy as well, even though one thing didn't happen. I was just probably finishing up on a YouTube video soon that I'm posting. And ordered the health card, said that can we get it sent priority because we're going to be possibly traveling soon. They can't, so hopefully we get it. He was saying possibly me, but yeah, and it's easy to do, and it's been busy there. I guess winter weather doesn't stop people from here mostly. There's a lot of stuff. Sorry, what? Oh, that's right. They're open on Saturdays. Wow. Okay. Cool. I guess that's kind of normal, but okay. Okay, enjoy lunch. Talk to you later. Oh, and just make sure that you see that the message is sent to. All right. Thanks. Bye. Which I wondered if you might call actually. It's getting very warm up here. I'm going to wrap up soon, I think. I don't have a whole lot more to say about WS because I'm still learning, like I say. This is actually possibly going to be under an hour. Now I'm doing the learning thing, ironically. Or Ghislaine. Sorry. But what was the thing? Oh, yeah. I kind of didn't want him to know about those messages until, well, it's 2:30 on the dot, I guess. Till a little sooner from leaving, but why not? I got everything okay. So you react to it. Somebody that has a lot of responsibilities might not be here anyway, very much. But still, I don't like it. So I'm just thinking about something. Anyway, but this one I actually do kind of like, and it's not it because it's a bit of a both thing. I operate that way a lot of times. One, because of indecisiveness. Two, because I like a lot of things. Or sometimes both sound good. You can turn your luck back on tomorrow and live yesterday, or you can be happy for tomorrow because of yesterday. It says you can cry and close your mind. I don't think that crying is keeping your mind closed. In fact, I think it opens it a little bit, opens your soul a little bit, you could say, as we get a viewer. Um, or you can do what she would want: smile, open your eyes, love, and go on. And I try to do that. I try to be a happy person, and the smile. Say a smile is powerful. Um, love and live, and we do that. We should do it. Just noticing that it doesn't really actually make these all the time. We should do it because we want to, and because it's a good way to be, even if it means you'll get hurt sometimes. But and that should be first and foremost. Do it because you want to do it. But at the same time, some people will say, yeah, but you know what? It's a balance, like I say, and they said various food. None of it's super healthy, but some of it has healthy elements. But some would say they do it because of religion. I'm not saying that's a tailbone. Would say, and I will add to it. You know, we do it. We can do it for our loved ones who pass on, because um, or you can do what they would want, and they're all decent reasons. Some maybe slightly more than others, but really they're all decent reasons. And with that, I think that's a perfect opportunity. I could do some songs. I've had a fairly busy, active day. I'm kind of tired. Feel free to make song requests below, though. With that, though, I'll just say live, love, learn, um, honor, remember, and all you can do is your best. Um, so, yeah, um, and I think I will wrap it up. Whether with further learning about diabetes, I decide to do a second one, I don't know. If you'd like me to, put it below. I might do it anyway. Otherwise, I might not, though. But part of me that wants to keeping on is optimistic about these new connections and the summer and the spring, for that matter, which is going to be short because winter keeps coming back. It's actually ironic. And I was thinking about storm that we had a bit of a snowstorm when what is supposed to be the start of spring, and I'm trying to remember. Before I started this podcast, I thought there was some irony in that. Oh, this video, that informational video diabetes I found, it which I almost forgot to go back to. It it it's from a hospital in Kansas, in Murder's Hill, and which actually that word's kind of similar to what I discovered her last name, and she's been bringing us business, and she's been bringing. I feel like starting to raise connection. It's almost feels like a connection is stronger. It's different. That's the thing, but. I know I had a perfect wrap up, but now I'm still going, but not for much longer, I promise. But yeah, and it's interesting because she may not be in our city anymore in the physical. Tap your heels. I have a feeling I'm not there anymore. Heaven, right? The other thing, I'm trying to think for it, is Storm in the movie. Looked a bit like this spiral, actually, right? And then there was one today. Butterflies are free to fly, fly away, high away, high, high. for now. For now, but not forever. Take care, everybody. Have a good day.